What's up, guys? It's the next Mike Ike, and I'm coming back at you with another Warhammer 40k Tacticus video. In today's video, I want to start a brand new series, and in this series, what I'm going to do is every week, I'm going to look at the top teams in Arena on my main account. Now, yes, I am currently on my free-to-play account, which is not in the same league as my main. But I'm just using this account because I can record a little bit easier and I can still show you the characters that are being used. So what I did was on my main account, I'm in the Battle Brothers League, and we're in Season 4 as you can see up here. And each season is basically a week. And right now the highest you can be is in Battle Brothers. So I'm in one of the top leagues. Now, the way it looks like is basically when you're in one of these leagues, it looks like you're kind of broken into certain pools. Not everybody that's in the Battle Brother League is in the same set of players that I am. You could be in a different set, but right now Battle Brothers League is the top that you can be in. Next week it'll be Veteran League, week after Sergeant League, and so on and so forth till we get up to the Chapter Master League where the best guys are duking it out. But anyway, what I did on my main is I went and looked at the top 25 teams right now. Now, we are kind of in the middle of the week. As you can see, there's 3 days and 5 hours left. But I feel like once you kind of get into the middle of the week, you can kind of see what the cream of the crop is. Like, it kind of rises to the top. The best teams are already kind of up there. Yes, there's a couple teams, I'm sure, by the end of the week that are right outside of the top 25 that'll end up making that push to the top 25, and a couple of the teams that are in the top 25 now that'll fall out. You know, I say teams, I'm saying players. But I feel like this is still a decent sample size of where the meta is. Basically, you can see what the meta is for the top tier league. And I was kind of interested in, you know, what the whales are spending money on, right? Like, what characters are the whales deciding to build? And I feel like you get an overall good snapshot with that. So with this, what I did is I went through the top 25 teams in the league, the Battle Brothers League, on my main account. And basically every character that's being used, I put a check mark, and basically I'm going to break down the top 10 characters that are being used, at least in the league that I am in. And I feel like maybe like some of the bottom 5, maybe it'll change a little bit, but I feel like when you get to the really top of this, it's going to be the same no matter what Battle Brothers League you're in. These characters, especially up at the top, seem to be the characters that people are building and people are using. Also, before I really get into breaking these characters down, one of the things I do want to mention is even in the top 25 right now, because we're still early into the game, there is a pretty big disparity. So the best player, and when I say the best player, he's not number 1 in my league right now, but he has the most power in the league that I'm in. He's got over 200k power. Okay, while some of the other guys that are in that top 25 are only sitting at like 17, 19k overall power. So there's big disparity there, and I do want to note that there seems to kind of be right now, this is just for this week, there seems to be a split of about 40k, whereas like the guys that are in that upper 30k to 40k range seem to be the guys that are, you know, wailing on the game. Like, obviously some are wailing a lot harder than others, but they seem to be the guys that are really putting money into the game. Whereas the other guys that are all in the like 15k to 20k range, they seem to be guys like kind of like I am on my main, where I put a little bit of money into the game, you know, but less than $100. And I do think there is an occasional free-to-play player that has grinded up their characters to get into that top 25 right now as well. And with that, there are some characters that I saw that were used by like the lower level guys that weren't getting used in the higher level guys, so I will break that down. So, interesting enough, the top 10 was actually pretty clear. Uses start out at 5, so the last character on this list had 5 uses of those 25, which when you stop to think about it, is still being used in 20% of the teams in the top 25, so that's pretty interesting. Whereas after that, it dropped off to a couple characters having 3 uses, and then a few having 2, and some having 1, but it seems pretty clear that these top 10 characters are the top characters of note right now. Also interesting, at least in the league that I am, of the top 10, only 2 of the top 10 characters right now are legendaries. And then furthermore, only 2 of the top 10 are epics, which I thought was pretty interesting. It means that, like, some of the best characters in the game right now are actually free-to-play friendly, which I thought was really cool. So without further ado, let's get into these characters, and we're going to start off, and I'm going to go through the characters and kind of give you why I think they're in the top 10 of used characters in Arena right now, and whether I think that number's gonna change or whatnot as the meta evolves. Like I said, I'm hoping to do this every week, so we will see the meta evolve as I do this, as long as my main can stay in the top tier. We can see what those top teams are using. So let's start off. So we'll start off with our very first legendary. Like I said, he's one of 2 legendaries that's being used right now, and that is Abaddon. Abaddon the Despoiler. Okay, so he comes in with 5 uses out of the top 25 teams, and like I said, he's the second best legendary, or the second most used legendary right now. So I think Abaddon is a nice mix. Alright, he's not super tanky, but he does do good damage. I've seen him on some tier lists, and people are like, oh, he doesn't do great damage. No, he does. He hits really hard, and his special, or his once per turn, whatever you want to call it, or once per game ability, hits like an absolute truck, right? It's doing 3 hits here with piercing damage, and then it's doing another 5 hits with power damage. So he's doing a total of 8 hits, and when you level this up, this gets pretty high, to the point where I think normally he's doing 5 hits. Obviously, I don't have him unlocked on this account. I actually was super lucky and pulled him in my original 10 pull on my main. I didn't realize how lucky I was when I did that, but I do have him on my main, and he is in my team. So I can actually look at what he does on there. But he does 5 hits normally. So on my main account, I have him at like 33, and I think I only have this up to like 11 or so, and this still will do more damage than he does base. So a lot of other damage-based skills, if they fall well behind the level of the character, end up not doing more damage than a base attack, you know, especially when you're talking like 15 plus levels. But this will actually still do more damage. Now the interesting thing is it says it sets his health to 30 damage, and this is where it kind of stinks if you don't have this up to the level of the character. So if this is behind the level of the character, a lot of times this will actually be like kind of like a loss of health. You're basically giving up health to do this attack. However, if this is at the same level as your character, it is essentially, now I'm just going off of when I've had my character. I don't know what it'll be at an end build, but when I did have my character around 15, 16, and this was around the same level, this was essentially a full heal, where he did a lot of damage, and then healed up. Where I am now on my character, I actually lose damage, but I could still kind of use it as a sneaky heal if he survives with a little bit of life, and then I go in and hit. So he does hit hard. He's got average mobility. He does have a range attack that does decent amount of damage too. He also is the Black Legion. So he has this nice Let the Galaxy Burn thing, which is whenever he attacks an enemy, there's a 50% chance that 1 additional hit is scored against that unit, or a unit adjacent to it if that unit is not Chaos. This applies regardless to which side that unit is on, so you do have to be a little bit careful, because you could actually do an extra hit on yourself, or one of your characters. But this ability is actually one of the nicer abilities that factions have, and actually as we go through this, you'll see he's one of 3 Black Legion characters that make this top 10 list, and I do think Black Legion is currently the most powerful of the factions. And I do think he is pulled up into this because of the other 2 characters a little bit. Like I said, he does do really good damage, but unless you get this to trigger, it is single target damage, so, you know, sometimes you get a little bit of splash damage with it, but for the most part it's single target damage. However, his passive is also really nice, and I think that's why he's seeing use as well. Friendly Chaos units in hexes surrounding Abaddon deal plus 5 damage, so if they're next to him, they're dealing more damage. Doesn't matter whether they're doing ranged attacks or not. And then all friendly units with the Let the Galaxy Burn trait, which is going to be all the other Black Legion guys, score an additional hit whenever this is triggered. So he boosts damage output of the other Black Legion, so I think that's also part of the reason we're seeing this guy. Alright, so let's move up. And remember when I talked about characters that are kind of being used by the lower level guys, but not as much by the higher level guys, but still made this list? Well, the first character on that list is going to be Tigger is here, Tiger is, however you say it. He's actually tied for 8th with another character, but I think that other character has more endgame use than he does. That's why he's currently sitting in this 9th position, essentially. And he is one of those characters, like I said, that the lower level guys in the top 25 are using, but the higher level guys have phased him out. Why do I think he's being used? Well, he is a psychic, or a psyker, and he uses this psychic damage, and if you notice, the psychic damage does have the pierce, and he's also a psyker, so when he hits a target with that, with the ranged psychic attack, it'll do 50% of that damage to a random enemy adjacent, so he's got kind of a little bit of a built-in AoE. He also has this ability that essentially can hit 4 guys, so if your opponent's bunched up, it's a nice little AoE that can get out. And then he also has a nice defensive thing where friendly units that are adjacent to him have a 50% chance to block some damage that comes in. So, you know, he's got good usage. Also, he's the very first character you get in the game, so he's one of the easier ones to grind out right now. As you can see, mine on this account is currently stalled out, like a lot of accounts are with orbs. But yeah, he is seeing, he saw 6 uses in the top 25 teams on my main account. So, but again, I'm saying, I think he is one, as we continue to do this every week, you're going to see him phased out, and he won't be being used by the top teams, or by the top players. Alright, so let's go to the next character, which is actually, funny enough, the next and the only other epic, or not epic, sorry, legendary that I'm seeing on in the top PvP teams right now, and that's Marvin Val. And she is sitting with 6 uses as well, but again, I'm seeing her a lot more with the higher level teams, so I don't think her being up here is kind of like a fluke. I do think she's up here because she's actually good at PvP. Now, let me just clarify, when I'm saying PvP, guys, I'm talking about the regular in-the-game arena. I know it's not live PvP, but it is what's considered PvP in this game. I've heard some people say that she's not very good at live PvP. Remember, live PvP is capped and all that stuff. So she's not in regular PvP. She's not capped, and I think in regular arena she's got a place. I think I mentioned it in one of my first videos. I really like what she brings to the table. And what does she bring to the table? Well, she brings a range 3 attack, and she brings this really nice ability where she deals 2 hits. Now it is blast damage, so it's not the best damage type, to a target, and then 1 hit to all hexes adjacent to the target, with the exception of her own. This is really good. It's really good AoE damage at a really good range. She can reach out and hit people with this. Yeah, she's not going to one-shot, but it's nice to just get, you know, you can spray, basically, if the enemy team's blocked up, you can spray a big chunk of that team with that damage. Then she also brings this when attacking an adjacent enemy, and any enemies adjacent both to the target and to her receive some damage. So again, she's got some splash damage when she's attacking people she's next to, when she's using her melee attack, I guess, or if she's using this attack while she's adjacent to people. She is Sisters of Battle, so she does have this nice thing where she also builds up crit when Imperial units are defeated, or enemy units, or they defeat Imperial units, defeat enemy units. She'll build up crit. She is mechanical, and she does have explodes when she dies, which is also kind of nice. Sometimes that can hurt you as well, though. And she is mechanical, which isn't great. As we'll see in this list, she's one of only 2 mechanical units in this list. So, you know, there's not like a mechanical theme going on right now. So actually, I do think this is a little bit of a drawback, but it actually does end up helping her with one of the better units in the game, too. So we'll see that when we get to that character. But that is coming in at tied for 8th position, but I'm giving her 8th overall. And she is the last of the legendaries. Just real quick to note, while I'll go through the other legendaries that I did see, Calgar was not used at all. Celestine had 3 uses. I think she's really good. I just think people don't have her right now, and she is one of the characters I do think we'll see rise over the course of these weeks. I think she's one of the characters that's going to kind of rise into that top 25 team that there's going to be a lot of teams using her. So I expect to see her rise. Typhus did not see a single use. I think right now, with the way things stand, I think Death Guard is the worst of the teams available, or factions, I'm sorry. In fact, out of the top 25, the only person I saw get used was Ratbone, and he had a single use. Other than that, not a single Death Guard unit was used. Continuing with the legendaries, surprisingly, I didn't see a single use from Creed. Again, Creed's kind of like Celestine. I think he will rise in usage as people get him unlocked and start to use him more, because I do think he, well, I mean, right now, let's just say it, we'll see it when we get to the top, but right now, Swarm kind of dominates Arena, and he is a guy that has some Swarm capability, so I do think we will see him rise up. But right now, he wasn't being used. And then last but not least, High Marshal Helbrett, not 100% sure how to say that. He did see a single use. Again, he's another character I just don't think people have a lot of Black Templars right now, and a lot of people don't have him unlocked. I don't know if he's super, super great and how much we will see him anyway, but he did see a single use in the top 25 right now. So, with that, let's get back into the top 10 list, and we're going to go with well, actually, really, there's 3 characters that were tied with 8 uses each. Again, I'm breaking them down based off of where I actually think they will be, and so I'm going to give the number 7 spot to Vindicta. So Vindicta's pretty interesting. She's another one of those characters that was used a lot by the low-level players in the top 25, but again got phased out by the top 25. And I do think there is a reason for that. On paper, she's really, really good. And she's a starting character, so everybody gets her in the original campaign. She's one of the 5 characters you're going to get in the original campaign. So she's one of the characters you can farm early in the game. And once you get her to uncommon, she gets really, really good. So what she does is basically she has the multi-hits, and it's flame damage. She has, her ability is basically she can use that flamethrower essentially twice. And then this is really nice, when performing a ranged attack, also deals 3 hits of flame damage to all units adjacent to the target. So she's got really nice splash damage, and has a 30% chance of setting each adjacent hex on fire. She also has heavy weapon, which is nice when it triggers, but a lot of times you're going to be moving her, so that's not going to come up all that much. And then she's also a Sister of Battle, so she does have this active faith, where her crit damage and crit chance will increase as Imperial units are defeated or defeat units. So why do I think she's falling off and won't be seen? I think it's just because of, A, she's a little bit harder to use, right? She's not, like, you have to actually use some tactics with her once this gets opened up, because she can and will damage your own guys. And then another reason is I think that her overall damage doesn't scale up super well. And what I mean by that, and I can't prove this, but it seems to be like as you get higher and higher, she just doesn't do enough damage to really be worth the hassles that she brings. And the hassle just doesn't include this. It also includes fire. The squares that are on fire, hexes that are on fire, will block movement. And while it blocks movement for your opponent, it will block movement and places you can go as well. And so unless you have a lot of flying guys to overcome that, that can be a hindrance, even when she's doing damage, it might be like, yeah, I really need her to do damage here, but if she sets this stuff on fire, it's going to really mess up what I'm trying to do this battle as well. So I do think that's why she's falling off, and I do think she's a character that we are going to not see as much in high-level arena play as we move forward. Again, right now, why I do think we are seeing her is because she does do decent damage. She's one of the few early-on characters that you get that has a lot of AoE potential. And we did just have that event where you could kind of grind her up a little bit. So I do think that's why she's being used, but again, I think we will see her start to get phased out. And really, that's what my data shows. Like, the players that are over that 40k mark aren't using her at all. Alright, so the next one is the last of these characters that I'm going to say the same spiel about, in that the low-level characters are using him, but you're not seeing as much when you get to the higher teams. Sorry, if I said characters, I meant teams. And that's Certus. And Certus is kind of in the same boat as Vindicta, in that he's an early character. I think he's, the second or third character that I think he's the third character you unlock in the game. You have a spot early in the game where you can grind shards for him. And we also had, if you were here week 1, he had a week 1 event, just like the Vindicta's event that we just had, where you basically could grind him up and get some extra shards for him and get a lot of XP for him. However, and this is one of the things that's really, really interesting about my data, is that he did see 8 uses. I am putting him currently at 6. And like I said, all of his uses were low level, except for one. And this is the one thing I found interesting. The guy that had 200,000 power, 200,000 power, so the strongest guy in the league that I'm currently playing in, actually had him built and was one of the guys that he was using. And he had him built up to, I think, legendary 3-star. And he was using him. So that will be interesting to see if that will continue, or whether he eventually will fall off. It seems like he's falling off for most of the high-level guys, but I found it interesting that the highest-level guy did have him built and was using him. What does he do, and why are people using him? Well, again, I think some of it is he's one of the early characters you get. We had a quest for him, so people have him built and have him built up. But I think he does bring some good stuff to the table. And first is, he does do a lot of damage, and it is a one-hit damage at range 3, so it's a nice range. And it being one hit is really important, because it's a big chunk of damage, and that means it'll only go through armor once. So guys that do multiple hits have to go through that armor every time they do a hit. And then if you're using that Grievous armor, or whatever, Gravis armor, whatever it's called, then it has to go through that twice. So stuff that only does single hits is really, really good at getting through armor. And that's kind of what he does. And when you get him built, he very much can sit there, and obviously this is the other part of it, is the Overwatch. He can sit there, Overwatch, and one-shot an opponent as the opponent's stuff comes in, and then on your turn can, potentially one-shot another one of your opponent's guys. So I think if you have him built up and he's really strong, especially if he's higher level than a lot of the stuff that your opponents are going to be using, he could be really, really good. I don't know if he eventually falls off towards endgame. It seems like he kind of does, but again, that one guy using him makes me think maybe he doesn't. It could be a situation where that guy's using him right now because he has one of the one of the strongest Certus in the game right now, and because he's so overpowered, he is one-shotting stuff that comes into Overwatch, and he is one-shotting consistently stuff on his turn. But maybe once everybody else's characters kind of start to catch up, maybe he stops using them too. We'll see. But yeah, looking at his kit, he has Overwatch, which is really nice. He also has Infiltrate, which means he ignores Overwatch, which is also really nice. He's got a nice little passive that whenever an incoming attack has its numbers or hits reduced for any reason, it deals less damage, which means if you can get him into tall grass, he can take take less damage, or if you can get him next to a character that reduces incoming hits, he can take less damage whenever those hits do come in. He does have this nice snipe. However, one of the things I found out about this is if you look right now, my character's level 13, so this isn't maxed, but it is level 9. If you look, it's doing about the same damage he does with his regular shot anyway. And the nice thing about it is the heavy weapons trait will double. So if you can get him to use this when he hasn't moved, because that's what the heavyweight weapons trait, then it becomes more damage. But I think a lot of times, most of the time, this is about the same damage, but it does have a push, which is nice. So that is going to be number 6 is Certus. Alright, so now we're going to get into the top 5. I know this is kind of a long video, but again, I think this is interesting data to take a look at, especially as we get into the top 3 or 4 guys here. And like I said, I do plan on doing this every week, so hopefully I'll eventually get a little faster at doing it, but also we can see the meta evolving in front of our eyes, and we can see how, you know, the whales are affecting the game. But, you know, also learn who to build, who's worth the investment, because if the whales are building them, odds are they're characters that are going to be worth the investment. Alright, so the next character who also had 8 uses in those top 25 teams is the first of our 2 epics that are going to make this list, and that is going to be good old Boss Gourd here. Now, he's pretty interesting. I think some of his usage is because he's one of the better free-to-play characters that you get access to pretty quickly into the game. Like, yeah, I say pretty quickly. It's probably about, you know, 3 weeks to a month if you're just strictly free-to-play without getting some lucky shards that you'll be able to grind him up from doing the missions. But once you get there, you know, we're about a month into this game, so people are starting to get him, and he is unlocked at epic level. And you do get shards for him all the time, and so you can power him up. But he does have decent stats. He does decent damage. So what does he got going for him? Well, first off, funny enough, he is mechanical. I lied. Okay, so there are 3 mechanical units in the top 10. He's one of them. This is more of a drawback, right? Big targets, tall grass won't affect you, trenches won't affect you. However, funny enough, adjacent friendly units receive 1 less hit, so that's a little bonus that can be used with like Certus and his passive. So if he's standing next to him, Certus can take less damage. He has Final Vengeance, which is pretty nice. When this unit loses last health, it immediately performs a normal attack, unless it's overkill. And then he's got Daka. For attacks with range 3 or more, has +2 hits if the target is at range 2. So basically, if he is shooting stuff closer to him, he does more hits. Alright, but why do I think people are using him? Well, he is an interesting model because he does have, you can't see it here, but he has decent stats in melee, and he does actually have a decent stats in ranged. But he's got this nice passive where when you attack somebody in melee, he basically, the Grot Gunner, which is the range part of him, deals 3 hits to that target. If the target is defeated, leftover hits are then allocated to a random enemy that's within 3 hexes. So he has a little bit of splash damage that he can do. You do want to get him in melee. He is stronger in melee. But one of the nice things is Wog, and I think that's some of the reason you're seeing him being used, which is all friendly units within 3 hexes that have not already moved, taken an action in this turn, move forward to their nearest enemy with +1 movement, so he's giving movement shenanigans to your team, and attacks in melee, dealing an extra 8 damage. Also, if they're orc units, they're doing an additional hit too. There's not, I think he's the only orc right now currently making it into the top 10 usage characters, so that part of that's not really affected. But overall, he's got a nice kit. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure if he's going to be a character that sticks around in the top 25 or not, but it's not like he's being exclusively used by the lower of the levels in the top 25 right now. So he comes in at number 5 with 8 uses. So right now, then we will move into the top 4, and we're going to move right to the last epic on this top 10 list, and that is Harkin, World Claimer. Again, another character that you are seeing that is very free to play friendly. You will get this character with basically just 2 weeks of play for free, and you will continue to get shards for him as long as you're doing the arena stuff. So he's a character that's very easy to build. However, his overall kit is why I think he's currently sitting with 10 uses in the top 25 teams. And I think it's his overall kit, and that he really does, I don't want to say he is a counter meta, like counters the meta, because he doesn't really counter the meta, but he does everything well. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if you look at his attacks, he does 4 hits. Okay, but he does 4 hits at decent damage, and they're piercing hits. So he deals with armor well, and he deals with like scarabs well. Okay, he's got 4 movement. He's very mobile. He's got flight. Again, he's extremely mobile. He's got decent armor. His armor is decent. He can take a hit. Like, he's not super tanky. He's not like the tankiest of guys, but he's in that mid-pack. He's not really a glass cannon. He does take hits decently well. He's also got decent health, and all those stats are really good. He's Black Legion? Sorry. Yeah, he's a Black Legion character, so he has this Let the Galaxy Burn trait. We already discussed that trait with Abaddon. He's another character that has that trait, and occasionally he does splash damage, and it's really good when he does. Then we look at this skill. Okay, he plunges the Hell Spear into an adjacent enemy, dealing 2 hits of piercing damage and removing 54 a chunk of armor. But it's the second part that is really unique, is that he speaks to the enemy's imminent doom, and triggers the battle fatigue trait for all enemy units within 2 hexes. So what this helps him do is deal with some of those summons units that come in. Some of them have that battle fatigue trait, like the guard units do, and this can help him get rid of this. Now, it triggers battle fatigue, but if you look at battle fatigue, there's only a 10% chance. However, if he uses his ability and overkills that enemy, that chance goes up to 40% for the battle fatigue to happen. So he does have a unique way where he can kind of get rid of a couple extra units, but it's not super reliable. And then comes the last thing, which really is what I think makes him, with the rest of his kit, makes him extremely useful, especially in arena. And it's every time he defeats an enemy unit. Notice it doesn't say character, it says character down here, so that includes summons, guys. He adds plus 22 damage to his attacks for the rest of the battle. Remember, you're adding 22 damage. Now, obviously, as this goes up, that damage will go more, but right now he's doing 41 damage. If you're adding 22 damage to that, it's almost like you're adding 50% more damage, and that's on each of those hits. And he gets that for the rest of the battle. Also, if the enemy that he defeats is a character, he also adds an additional hit for the rest of the battle. And this stuff all stacks, guys. So basically, the more he kills and the longer he survives in battle, the more damage he's doing. So, like, if you get to the end and it's just your opponent has one guy and you have one guy left, and this is the guy you have left, well, most likely you're going to have the mobility to get there, and when you get there, he's definitely going to be doing enough damage to one-shot. So that's why I think Harkin is being used and comes in at the number 4 spot right now. And guys, now we're going to get to the top 3, and this top 3 probably isn't going to surprise anybody. They are all characters that bring summons. I think summons are probably a little overpowered right now, and maybe something that the game designers look at to maybe nerf a little bit in the future. These top 3 all are seeing more than 50% usage, and a lot of times these top 3 are being used together. So the first character that we're going to pull up is Yrick. Okay, so Yrick is actually one of the least free-to-play friendly characters. And the reason I say that is because currently, right now, there is nowhere in the game that you can grind shards for him except for Onslaught. However, he is I don't know how exactly to say this, spend a little bit of money friendly, in that he is the welcome character. So if you want to spend the $5, and guys, if you are watching this and you are not playing this game right now, or you just started playing the game and you aren't going to be super, I have to be free to play friendly, if you are only going to spend $5 on the game, spend the $5 to unlock him. It is definitely worth it. But he is being used by, his usage is 16 out of the top 25 teams in the league, and on my main account, he is being used by. So it's over 50% of the people are using him, and he is being built, and people are, using the onslaught grinds. They're spending money to get his shards, and they are using him. He is a very good character. What does he do? Well, he does pretty much everything well. And what I mean by that is, first off, he's got probably one of the better summons in the game. It might be the best summons in the game, because a lot of the other summons in the game rely on, does your opponent have open hexes, how many turns have passed, or all those type of things, or they have to kill somebody to summon. Nope, he just drops 4 guardsmen down. They are ranged, so they just have to be within range of the target. I do believe their range is only 2, so it's kind of a little bubble where they do have to be semi-close, but it's not like you have to have 4 spaces directly adjacent to your opponent that you're trying to drop guys into, like some of the other summons. So, he does. I do feel like this is one of the better summons in the game, and it's 4 guys right off the bat. First turn you can get close enough to use it, it's 4 guys. It doesn't matter how many turns have passed or any of that nonsense. But that's not it. His overall kit is really good, and what I mean by that is, you can't see it here, but he has multi-hits, and he hits really, really well. So he does decent damage in range, but when he gets to the melee, he does even better damage. He also has this trait, which I don't think this comes up all that often, but it's basically once battle fatigue has been triggered, your opponent has triggered that on one of your guys, one of your summons, it will get negated for the rest of the battle. And in addition, every friendly unit with battle fatigue trait now deals more damage. So once battle fatigue has been triggered, your other guys that have battle fatigue, it won't trigger anymore, and they'll do more damage. But he also has this, which actually resilient is mainly a death guard thing, but it does pop up occasionally on other characters, and this is one of them. And this is actually like a really, really good ability, because a lot of times it means your character won't be one-shot. Even if they could do one-shot damage, it won't kill you, because unless you get overkilled, basically, unless they can do double your life total, you will survive the damage with 1 health. And that does come up sometimes. It's like, ah, man, I really need to kill this guy, and you go try to kill him, and you don't, even if he's already got some damage on him, and you don't do enough to overkill, and there he is with one health left, and you're like, ah, gosh, now I gotta put another character's attack into him. But anyway, he comes in at 3rd. I do think we will continue to see him. And in fact, I think as people start to get the other character, what was his name, I forget, Creed built, I think he has a lot of synergy with Creed, so I think he's in the top 3 right now, and I think he's going to be a character that will stay in this top 10 of characters used in PvP Arena right now. Alright, moving up to number 2, and this will surprise no one, is Alif Noel, coming in at 18 uses. So Yrick was at 16, this guy was on 18 of the top 25 teams that I looked at. And he's kind of interesting. Why I think he's interesting is because I think he's a nerf away from not being that useful. And I know people are going to be like, what? But the main reason he's so useful is because scarabs are so OP. Alright? If he didn't have this ability, I don't think you see this guy. Now, summons are, like I said, a little overpowered right now, and they could be headed for a nerf, or specifically, scarabs could be headed for a nerf. But until that happens, you're going to see this character. He's not a character you get for free, but he is on that initial campaign, and it's a character, one of the earlier characters you can start grinding shards for, so he's not super hard. I would say he is a free-to-play friendly character. He or she, I know it's an inanimate object. In fact, a lot of times I'm probably going to call it a she, because spiders often get referred to as she's, and it's a spider. But let's look at the kit. He's got decent damage, right? It is a multi-hit, which is nice because it'll help you against other scarabs, and it is a particle damage, so it does have a 35% pierce ratio, so that'll help you get through some of that heavy armor. Has a movement speed of 3, which is okay. You know, that's the average movement speed throughout the game. It is nice that it sneakily has flying. You look at it and you wouldn't think it has flying, but it does have flying. I think that's more along the lines to represent it being able to basically kind of, you know, climb all over everything, and, you know, like a spider can easily move through terrain. It doesn't actually fly, but it does have flying in the game, which is nice. It is mechanical, which is kind of nice. One of the things we're going to see on this is it does have mechanical synergy. However, I don't think, like I said, there's only 3 characters in this top 10, including itself, that are mechanical. I don't think that's why it's being used. It is Necron, so it does have this living metal where at the beginning of every turn, it regenerates 10 health, which is kind of nice. It gives it some sustain. It does blow up when it dies. That's kind of, you know, a good thing or a bad thing. You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, depending on when it dies. And if we look at the passive, here's the nice thing about other mechanicals, which is basically it has a passive heal, where after moving, it repairs one friendly adjacent mechanical unit for 70 health. Obviously, that goes up as you put more points into it. It's a pretty big heal, if you guys have played with it at all. But again, there's not a lot of mechanical being used. So, you know, right now on the top, you have Boss Gourds and then Marvin Val that are mechanical. So there is a little bit of synergy. If you are using one of them, you're going to get some bonus synergy out of him, but you're going to be using this character pretty much regardless of this passive. If you have another character that can benefit from it, awesome. If not, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't hinder this character. But the thing that's making this character useful and being used is the Scarab Swarms. The Scarab Swarms do decent damage, but the bigger thing with them is that you have to have specific stuff to deal with them. If you go up against an opponent that doesn't have multi-hitters, they're in trouble. And then them being able to duplicate, that is the big thing. They can very quickly, if your opponent doesn't deal with them, they can very quickly swarm the battlefield, you know, block lanes to other stuff, and become a real nuisance. And, you know, they are going to hit and do damage. So that's why this guy is being used so much. Like I said, I do think it's one nerf away from falling out of the top 10, but with how things stand right now, it's not only in the top 10, it's in the top 3. It's sitting at second place with 18 usage. I will say, when I go against other people in arena, this is the top character, priority character for me to kill. I want to kill this character before I kill anything else, because I don't want to deal with the swarms. Even though I can deal with the swarms, it's not like the other summons in the game where you can kind of not ignore them. You're going to have to deal with them eventually. You have to deal with those Scarab Swarms immediately, otherwise they're going to replicate and they're going to become a big issue. So this is number 2 in usage, but for me, it's the priority target that I've got to kill when I am doing arena. And last but not least, we'll get to the number 1 character with just one more usage than Alif Noel, which is 19. So 19 out of the 25 top teams right now are using this guy. It's another character that is free-to-play friendly, which is awesome. And that's going to be Arcomatos. Some people are saying Arcomatos. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm going to go with Arcomatos because I think that sounds better. But he is the top character being used right now. I've seen some tier lists. Some people are saying he is the top character in the game. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, because you got to look at all the different modes and whether he's useful in everything or not. But he's definitely one of the top characters in the game. And what does he bring to the table? Well, first off, he is a Psyker, so he brings that a little bit of splash damage. He also, you can't see it here because I don't have him unlocked, but he does do psychic damage, so he has a nice pierce on that, which is going to get through armor. Again, he's got that let the galaxy burn thing going for him, so You know, he's got some potential just doing additional splash damage as well. But just like most of these other summoners, what really makes him tick is his summons ability. And what he summons is the bloodletters, and these bloodletters, they hit like trucks. So they are, you know, what makes this guy. Now, it says summons up to a max of 3. This actually goes up. On my main, it's up to a max of 4. I don't know if it continues to go up. I assume it might, but you're very rarely going to be able to pull that off, because basically it's you summon guys next to a target, they immediately attack the target. If the target's still alive, it summons another one. If it's still alive after that, it summons another one. As long as the target has not been defeated and is in range and has a free hex adjacent to it. So all of those have to be you know, in order for this to continue to summon guys. But it is not hard to get 3 bloodletters, sometimes 4 bloodletters on the field just from this ability. And once they're on the field, like I said, the bloodletters hit really, really hard. Besides that, he also will summon a bloodletter if he kills somebody. And the nice thing about this is because he has splash damage, this isn't always going to be, oh, I just one-shot that guy. In fact, this is really nice to deal with other swarm guys. You got 2 guard units, 2 of the guard summons next to each other. You hit the one, the splash damage kills the other one, and boop, you pop out 2 more bloodletters. He is a little squishy, so that is his downside, is that he doesn't take hits very well. But other than that, his kit is really, really good. He is the +1 character that's being used by the best teams in the league that I am in right now. And so with that, guys, I know it's kind of a long video, 45 plus minutes, but I thought it would be interesting to go through what characters are being used, so you can look at what characters you should be focusing on. Really nice to the top 2 characters are both free-to-play friendly characters, so awesome for the game. And, you know, 4 of the top 5 characters are free-to-play friendly. They're Harkin, you're going to get shards for from Arena. Boss Gourd, you're going to get shards for completing missions. Alif Noel, you can start farming pretty early on. And Arcomatos is another character that you're going to get shards for free just by playing. So, really nice to see that even though they're free-to-play characters, they are characters that the whales are also building right now. So that's awesome for the game. So with that, guys, I know it's been a long video. As always, if you can hit that like button, I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please do. I'm trying to get Warhammer Tacticus videos out, you know, pretty consistently. Like I said, I plan to make this a series that I'm going to do every week, which will be pretty cool. And right now, I also have a giveaway. Now, this giveaway is going to end tomorrow. Look for my video that's called Pros and Cons. That video has instructions on how to enter the giveaway. The giveaway ends tomorrow night. Today is Thursday night. It will end on Friday night. So please, well, actually, looking at my phone now, I'm on the Eastern time zone. It is 12:30 in the morning. So that thing will actually end tonight. So guys, please check out, if you want to enter that giveaway, check that video out. Follow the instructions in the video to enter the giveaway. But with that, guys, that will be the last video I'm plugging that giveaway for. Hopefully, I'm above 50 subscribers now. I'm making that push slowly towards 100. I'll probably do another giveaway when we get to 100. So also be on the lookout with that. But as always, guys, I appreciate you taking your time to watch. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.